market looks like around crypto. I mean, this is a steep fall off, as you guys can see on the 30-day here for the total market cap of crypto. We are sub $4 trillion again. Fear and greed index around 47, so still in the neutral territory. Altcoin season index around 68 out of 100. Nothing, significant there. We could see that Bitcoin is down 1% today. Ethereum is down 3.5%. XRP is down about 2.3%. So XRP is not down as much as some of these other altcoins, like even for an example, BNB and Solana. And then also when we look at the fear and greed, we're still around neutral. I don't think that this is an area for us to panic or get, too, shaken up about. I still think that we're seeing some chop in the market. I know that for the most part, altcoins look like they're getting absolutely slaughtered, especially when you look at the daily. This is what XRP looks like on the daily. This is a 7-day. This is the 1 month. This reminds me of many shakeouts that we've seen in the past where we typically have a major pullback and then we start to have that big bounce. The question here is, how low do we go? We really don't know, but if we're looking at XRP right now on the daily, we're seeing that deep sell-off. I would argue that this area down here between $2.80 to about $2.88 would be a very good area to accumulate more XRP. It would also create a higher low going off of the low from September 1st, which is what I'm really kind of looking at. I'm watching for this area to hold. It would also be retargeting that liquidity going all the way back to July. So right around like $2.80, almost 1 cent. But looking into this, most of the altcoin market is oversold, or at least on the edge of being oversold. As you guys can see here, this is the average crypto RSI heat map currently. There is a lot of things that are overbought, as you guys can see up here, like AVNT, Aster, Pump. Like most of these are getting wiped out right now, and it's causing a little bit of a cascade in the market. But, some of these are still up crazy percentages in the last 24 hours. The main thing that we're looking at over the last 7 days is just RSI. A lot of these are cooked, but a lot of them, are down to the oversold area where, there is a lot of opportunities out there right now in the altcoin market. The question though is, how low do we go on this move? Well, right off the rip, we did see $300+ million liquidated in the past 60 minutes, with 309 million coming from long positions. A lot of late longs got liquidated. So this did cause a liquidation event. This is what Bitcoin looks like currently on the daily. Now, I don't know if you guys have been following some of the updates recently talking about, what could happen next in the market. The main thing that I was looking at here, and I believe that this was more so on the 3-day. Yeah, it was on the 3-day. The main thing that I was looking at was this fair value gap getting filled. Now, we did run all the way as high as about 100 and almost 18K on Bitcoin. But there was this fair value gap around 113.3K to about 114.5K. We are now hovering right around this. I did have this on this chart prior to this move. So for anyone out there that's saying, oh, well, Nick, you just drew this on the chart now to make it look like you called this. Here we have from the Discord group, which, by the way, you guys can join this Discord group down in the description below right now, which I would advise every single one of you to do so. Now, this is in the premium side, so you have to pay to be a part of this side of the Discord. However, looking at this, what I was mainly watching for this week was a close above 116.2K, which would have been good. And then 120K would have been preferred. But I said, I doubt that we see it this week. I said that we also have a fair value gap here that could be filled. We could see a bearish weekend leading into a bullish week, as we have had the last few weeks. We have a bearish weekend, which tells me that I do think we could see a very good week upcoming, because the weekend has been pretty bearish. When it comes to the fair value gap, looking at this on the weekly, all right, real quick, we didn't close above 116K. This would have been good if we closed above 116.2K. We closed right around 115.4K, which was prior. This was the week prior. This was resistance in that week. So we closed right around resistance. Now we're having the sell-off. And looking at this on the daily, I do suspect that we will have a bottoming event around this level. We could dip all the way down to 113.9K, just so that, or 113.2K, just so that you guys are aware. looking at some of the indicators, like for an example, RSI, on the daily, we still have a large amount of downtrend that could happen here. Depending on how low we go here on Bitcoin, I mean, realistically speaking, even if we, fill this fair value gap, we could still go lower. We could retest the lows going back to, the beginning of August, around 112.4K. We would still be in a higher low scenario. This is the only thing that I really care about watching, is us holding this low down here. So anything within this area is free game when it comes to Bitcoin. I don't care if we bottom around this level or not. I would just love for us to hold these lows and maintain those lows on Bitcoin to, keep consistent bullish structure. So far we've been creating some higher lows and also higher highs technically on the daily, going off of the highs going back to the end of August. I just want to see us have a nice little sell-off here, because it would have been healthier to get this now than later. So this is still healthy price action. And then we start to have the retest of the breakout, slight little sell-off, and then we start to break to the upside. This could happen this week. And by the way, talking about that, main thing to focus on this week is how stocks open. So far, stocks have been very, very bullish. We just closed at an all-time high on Friday. RSI is cooked here a bit. So, we could see a sell-off on stocks initially on, Monday's open, but I'm still watching to see stocks get a little bit more boring while money flows into, Bitcoin. But the main thing that I was looking at here with Bitcoin at 116.4K was us filling this fair value gap. So, for anyone out there that's saying, oh, well, Nick, you just, drew that chart now just to look like you were right. I drew this on the 19th. But regardless of that, let's talk about CZ, because CZ put out a very interesting post. And I got to be honest with you guys, having a YouTube channel surrounded around crypto really gives us the insights as well around retail participation. So CZ said, dumb question about X. My followers grew quickly from 9 to 10 million in a bear market, then slowed to a halt after 10 million even in this bull market. Followers grew fast in previous bull markets, lost correlation. Is this normal or something wrong with X? Or am I being too cool? Or maybe we haven't hit the real bull market yet. I do think that this is more of the likely, this is the likelier scenario here. A lot of people think that this market has topped out. A lot of people think that this market topped out back in December into January. Because since then, most altcoins haven't created new highs. XRP is an outlier here, but most of this space is still just brewing and really, I would say, consolidating, especially when it comes to the altcoin market. The thing about CZ, though, is I've noticed on YouTube as well, the audience has kind of fallen off since going all the way back to the beginning of the year. Most people kind of gave up on crypto since going all the way back to the beginning of the year. And most people are not even looking into crypto at this point as well. So I do think that we haven't really seen the real bull market yet. I agree with CZ here, especially when it comes to even market participation, especially even on X, right? The engagement has, kind of dropped off. And it's not just around my channel or even around my X. I've noticed that a lot of individuals in this space, a lot of influencers have also talked about the same thing, where they're like, the real bull market's not here yet. The real retail participation is not here yet, because again, engagement across the board is down. And what's interesting about this is September, right? So we have over here from Quinton, we have best September for Bitcoin in history. It was up about 8.13%. Now, this was a little bit too early. This was on the 18th. Now, looking at September currently, and let me just refresh real quick, make sure that this is all fully up to date. September is about 6.5% right now in terms of our monthly return for September so far. And, the only other time that we've had, Bitcoin perform higher was back in 2024. Okay. But every single time that we've had a good September, the following months have been very, very bullish. For an example, back in 2024, October plus 10%, then November plus 37%, back in 2023, plus 28%, plus 8%, plus 12%, then 2016, plus 14%, plus 5%, plus 30%, and then, of course, yes, 2015, plus 33%, plus 20% almost, plus 14% almost. So yes, If we have a bullish September, typically it's, going to lead into a green October, November, possibly even a December. And we have here every September has been green for Bitcoin, has been followed by a double-digit green October. If we finish out the month green for Bitcoin, which again, I'm expecting us to have a much larger bounce on Bitcoin here leading into the end of the month. This is going to be very, very bullish for Bitcoin and for the rest of the market. When it comes to altcoins as well, a lot of people think that altcoins have topped out. I go over here to this post from Alex Wasey, Wasey_time1 over on X. Whenever someone says alts have topped, I just check the alts/Bitcoin chart. Upside potential for altcoins equals massive. Parabolic season incoming. Most people will say, absolutely not. There's no way that it can happen. This is the others against Bitcoin pair. Guys, here we have 2021. This is our current view of this chart. When it comes to altcoins, we are extremely oversold on altcoins. Altcoins they haven't even bounced in a big way. They haven't seen that, parabolic rise like we saw in previous cycles. Again, I don't think people realize just how early we are into this cycle and what is about to hit. Altcoins are going to go crazy. Alt season is still brewing. I put out a post on the 19th. I said higher, much higher. Look back at September of 2024. First rate cut, market sentiment was trash. No one expected higher. Same scenario right now, especially with this wipeout. By the beginning half of November, everyone was flipping bullish, but they were late to the party. I was bullish in September. The Discord was bullish in September, but why? Because of structure. Higher lows, higher highs, and structure right now is telling us to be bullish. Be bullish now or be late. Now, again, most people will say, oh, why would I be bullish now? Bitcoin is selling off. Let's go back to the Bitcoin price chart real quick and just look at this. So again, looking at this on the 3-day structure, RSI nearing the moving average. On the 3-day structure, we should bottom right around that that fair value gap that I was showing you guys earlier. And with the moving average looking like this on the 3-day structure, all right, we have our low down here. Say for so we bottom around this level, that would be another higher low. We need to clear our previous highs, so our highs that we are selling off from. Once we bounce off of this, we should create a higher high. This will be bullish structure. Realistically speaking, even going back to the daily view, we already have bullish structure on this chart. Yes, we're having a pullback. Yes, we're having a sell-off. We've had a sell-off before going to new all-time highs, just like back in August, before we hit 124K. This is normal price action. This is not, a time where we should be looking at Bitcoin and saying, oh no, I'm bearish. Or looking at altcoins and saying, oh yeah, I'm bearish. Markets are topped, right? No. I think that we go much higher here. In fact, I think that the